3, 2, 1. Yes, we're here. 14th session. Tonight, I'm with, it seems like Alan Pinder, the Bajan Scout, is in Australia, Sydney, Australia. So we're here. Right now, I think the Avenger is on assignment. Let me hope that he really gets his assignment done well. All right, so tonight we will start with the East. Okay, so as usual, we look at the East and see that the Boston Celtics is obviously the best team in basketball right now. Yeah, my fear though always is if you're going to be the best team in 21 games, I hope you're the best team at 81. So we'll see how that goes, but right now they have a winning streak of 4 games straight, and 9 out of the last 10. Behind them is Bucks. I noticed your Pacers are at number 4, so I wonder if they are trying to get out the Wemby sweepstakes.
It seems so, a little reluctantly so, if I may add, but I don't think we're necessarily a contender, but I mean, I thought the Cavs were going to be one of the best teams in the East, and we were just a half game ahead of Cavs, so I'm not sure what's actually going on there, but the guys are definitely playing very well.
Yeah, we'll keep the playing very well to a minimum. Right now, they're ahead of the Sixers and Raptors, Brooklyn's and Heat. But we can see the Heat is now making a move. They're going 3 straight, and 6 of the last 10. And also the Brooklyn Nets, they are a 2-game in the street, and also 6 of the last 10. In between there is the Hawks and the Wizards and the Raptors. The East is shaking out to be fairly good. It seems that the East might be better than the West in terms of parity and closeness, because really the top 10, Chicago is outside top 10, then 9 and 11. So is Knicks. The only people that really way out of it is the Pistons and the Magic, and we can say the Hornets as well.
Yeah.
Everybody else go vie for that spot. So what's your take on the East?
Yeah, it's interesting because you said earlier about hoping that if you're this good after 20 games, that you can maintain that same pace at 82. That's usually the case. Usually after 20 games, things don't tend to change very much from there. But I'm hoping the Celtics are hoping that's the case this year. Last year, they were pretty bad after the first 20 or 30 games, but they were about to win the East. So I'm hoping that they're hoping for consistency this time. I hope that things don't actually change for the worse or anything like that this year.
Yeah, well, but it'll be a very interesting East. Very interesting.
But the records are very close, so that's the thing. It's hard to really make a good read on it because, I mean, if you look at the Cavs, who are in 3rd place, I mean, there's only 3 games separating the Cavs and the Heat, who's in 10th.
Yes.
So, I mean, a bad week for one of these teams and a good week for some of the other teams, and this can shake up a lot. So I think it's going to be very interesting. And probably as we get closer to the All-Star break, I think we should probably have a better idea of how things are actually going to shake out.
All right. So that's the East. Interesting dilemma in the East. In the West, the records are also very close. And the top team now is the Phoenix Suns, who is really on a 5-game in the streak. They won the last 7 or the last 10. And Denver is on 3 games.
Hottest team in the league, I think.
Pardon me?
Hottest team in the league, I believe. 5-game in the streak.
Yeah, 5-game in the streak. Then, surprise at number 3, New Orleans. 12-8. They just won the last game, but they're 7 on the last 10.
Yeah, they've actually been very good recently. In the last 10 games, they're number 2 in net rating. and they have a top 5 offense and defense. So they've been playing very well of late.
Okay, that's good to hear for them. After many years of barely existing. Then there's Memphis, who welcome back Ja Morant last game. They're on a two-game winning streak, and then 5 of the last 10. The Clippers, the Blazers now start to show that where they should be. I don't think they're finished yet, but they lost them, and also they lost the last 6 of the last 10. Surprise, surprise, though, of the West is the Sacramento Kings. Those Kings that usually be the butt of many jokes are actually at number 7, just above the Golden State Warriors. Right. Who's
there seems to be 2 shit spots in the night. One's on a 3-game losing streak, other one's on a 3-game winning streak.
Yeah, it's been interesting though. I watched these Warriors games, and I mean Warriors was, I think they played, who was they played? They played Timberwolves. And I mean they ran circles around Timberwolves. But we'll see how that goes. We are now starting to say, well, the Warriors are now becoming the Warriors, but we'll still see what happens with the Warriors. Timberwolves at number 10 though, and they had some bad news today. They got the news that Cat will be out for at least 4 to 6 weeks with a strained calf, and that strained calf starting to sound like real familiar. The last time you had a man with a strained calf, it ended up with a pop Achilles. So we'll see how. We are hoping that he's not really seriously hurt, but obviously I'm hoping more than most because he's in my fantasy team. But I think the Timberwolves, we'll see how Timberwolves shake out. I don't know if the experiment with he and Gobert is working, because really and truly for the amount of draft picks and people they give away for Gobert, I noticed that they're only a paltry record of 10-11. So I am not sure, but it's only 21 games. So I don't want to say that it was a failed experiment, but we'll see how it shakes out now that Cat is out. See if it is that, only one big man could survive, or if it is really that, that Gobert was not the best pick. So what's your take now on the West?
Well, you might be seeing a little bit of the regression to the mean that you mentioned earlier. The Kings are falling a lot down to earth a little bit. The Jazz come back down to earth a little bit. And the T-Wolves a little bit. The T-Wolves, there's a chance this Cat injury might be a slight blessing in disguise. The experiment hasn't been going that well so far. But there's a chance that maybe if you take Cat out, ice one of the big men out ice temporarily, some of the pieces around might fit a little better, and we may see the team actually do well in this short space of time. So we'll see how it goes. But I still think those big men could potentially work. But yeah, the early returns are not there. But they did have some challenges early in the season. Cat missed some preseason games, so they need a little bit more time to get that situation together. But yeah, the US I think is starting to take form a little better. I'm still surprised the Mavericks are outside the mix. I mean, they have an MVP candidate on their roster, and they're 11th right now. Given how well Luka's playing, I thought they would have been a top 4 team.
Well, as you know, I always say that it takes more than one man to win a championship. Actually, bring a team. So in the years gone by when LeBron was taking paper clips and newspaper to finals. Though I think those days are now gone. So Dallas, I think Luka would have, he will get some lovely stats, but if they don't do they got to make some sort of trade or pick up somebody to help out. round the trade deadline. But we'll see how it goes there on a 4-game losing streak. And we will not try to mention the rest, which includes OKC, Lakers, Spurs, and Houston Rockets, who is right in the middle of the November sweepstakes.
Right position.
Right, they're in a good position. But we'll see what happens with them. But that's the West. So the only major, we'll wait and see how Minnesota does with Cat out. I'm looking to see if Warriors will now start to make some moves, or if it is, that was just a little, getting the right teams at the right time. Sacramento, they've been playing fairly well, and they've made well, as you know, the coach, they had a new coach in Mike Brown, so we'll see how when it all's said and done, how the Kings look. But we call them the Kings. Yeah, and we always know they do Kings things.
Yeah, the issue with the Kings right now is that they have a great offense, but they have a terrible defense, even though they have a coach who has a strong defensive reputation. So they have to turn around that end if they want to get any measure of consistency. I think looking back to the East with Indiana, I think that's what's helped with them. They started off very poorly on defense and having a great offense. But in the last, as I mentioned earlier, in the last 10 games, they've actually been they're number 2 in defensive rating. So their defense has improved over the last few games, particularly on Turner back in the lineup. So the Kings need to look for a similar type of defensive consistency if they want to maintain a playoff position in the West.
Right. Well, I can't leave the West by without saying that congrats to James Jones, who will be elevated to the president of basketball operations, I think it is.
Yeah,
at the Phoenix Suns. So congrats to him, and I know he will do well. So that's the East, the West, and now we'll have the picks, the fantasy picks from your favorite guy of mine, Alan Pinder, the Bajan Scout.
Well, but you should have had shit notes in your lineup, given all of the injuries Philadelphia had over the last couple of weeks. He's been averaging 20 points per game, about 8 assists, 6 rebounds. So if you didn't have him by now, you definitely should have him in your lineup. DeAnthony Melton, also the Philadelphia 76ers, not as good as Milton, but he will definitely give you some good production, getting about 15 points, 4 boards, 4 assists. He's been solid so far. I think once Philly has those injuries to Harden and to Embiid, they should continue to get good run and put up some good stats for your fantasy team. Kelly Olynyk is also not a bad pickup right now. He doesn't have great stats. He gets about 15 points per game, but he gets rebounds, he gets assists, he gets steals, he gets blocks, and all those things tend to add up over time. So he's a solid mid-tier pick right now. Kelly Olynyk from the Utah Jazz. And one day to keep an eye on is Marvin Bagley from the Pistons. He came back from injury recently. He had a double-double in his last couple of games. He's starting center. He's the starting center now for the Detroit Pistons because of the injuries they've had. And he's been playing pretty well for them. So I don't think he's picked up in most leagues right now. He should be available in most. So he's someone definitely to keep an eye on. If you have a spot on your roster, you could spare, at least put him there for the time being. And also, I told you guys to keep an eye on Ben Simmons, and he was playing pretty well over the last couple of weeks. Unfortunately, he's injured again, but if he's available in your lineup in your league, you definitely should have had him on. He's similar to Kelly Olynyk. He doesn't have great stats, but he gets a lot of confidence stats, and where everything is bundled together, you can come up with some pretty good fantasy points at the end of the day. So those are picks.
That's good for fantasy. And you always know that the Bajan Scout do have good tips. So once you struggling in your fantasy league, you could just take some of those tips and run with them. I am hoping to get one of them because right now I'm struggling with Cat, who is out for until January. So we'll see if I can pick up 1 or 2 people.
Yeah, so I think Marvin Bagley maybe for you.
Probably.
Big Mike, big guy center, far center.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. So that's fantasy. And now we want to, in our first installment of the BA Corner. see our first installment with none other than the #1 player in 3x3, Deroni Hurley. The first installment of the BABA Corner, we have none other than the #1 ranked 3x3 player in Barbados, Deroni Hurley. Deroni, welcome. Right, so Deroni, you were on a Barbados team that went to the Americup in Miami. And I just want to know, how was the Americup for you?
The Americup was a great experience. I think it was organized well, like the venue, the arena, everything was like well put place. But for me personally, I think I probably could have played better, especially after the first game. On the first game, I think I could have played better, but I played that in second. But it was a good experience.
Okay.
Sure.
Right. So you said it was a good experience. What did you learn really? What do you learn? What do you think you learned from the tournament?
I learned short free, definitely to step up at a senior level. The game is played a lot faster. You can't really you gotta be going all the time. Like you can't slip out of weight. You gotta keep on constantly moving, constantly thinking, and yeah, a lot physical. Like it's very physical.
Yeah, I thought it was. I just thought the referees weren't as consistent as they should be, but
yeah,
yes, it was physical.
That was, but you go adapt all the gameplay, and that's what I think throw me off in the first game. How physical the game was, but it's a learning experience, so they don't know.
So what do you think we could do better the next time around?
The next time around, I think we got good looks. We just got to convert. Like, we had a lot of open look shooting, even getting to the basket. We get fouled, but in physical, so that's what we got to play for. And for the score, and for the shots, we got to knock down the shots. Because that's one game for sure. But we are cut above everybody else. If we knock no shots, I don't think there's much teams that can be able to hold you if we knock no shots.
Okay, so question. You had a stint with the juniors, playing junior Barbados team. What do you think that we can do that we'll do better in 3x3 or 5-on-5? I mean, that may be a unfair question for you since you only went with the juniors, but what's your opinion on that?
This one tough. I feel like at the senior level is 3-on-3. We're better at 3-on-3 to me at the senior level. But with the young core that we got coming up, no. I feel like we could really hold we own in a 5-on-5 with most teams because we can be running, we can be hitting the glass, we can just be quicker. And we got a lot of talented players, young players in Barbados coming out in basketball. So, but for right now, 3-on-3, I would say it'll be bad 3-on-3.
Okay, I would agree with you on both accounts. I also think we have a nice young core coming up, and I also think that we can do well at 3x3. But I've noticed that there are no real senior players playing 3x3. So what would you tell them about 3x3?
3x3 is it's fun. Like, you come out and play like 3x3 is seeing basketball. People think 3x3 is not basketball any day. But it's still basketball. It's still got to take the same way, just quicker. And you just got moving a lot more. You don't really get much breaks in 3-on-3 than you get in 5-on-5. So all the players, I guess, don't really want to run that much. So that's why they'll be like, Toronto, you're not gonna play that, but Toronto is still basketball and it's fun. So I think they should got more senior players looking to play.
Yeah, because we did see a lot of senior players in the other teams. Actually, one of the guys from Ghana was 42. So I think that we need to put a little bit more emphasis on the 3x3. But as you said, we have some nice young players coming up, and we will be better at 5-on-5 as well. So I really want to thank you, Deroni, for your input and for allowing me to interview you. You're the first of the Beer Corner. So I want to thank you, and we shall actually, before we go, what are you doing right now as it relates to preparing for the season?
For the season, I'm using the gymnasium facility, the gym equipment, so we're looking to get bigger and stronger for the upcoming season. And the train every day, except probably Sunday. And yeah, there's got workouts with Coach Z, with Coach Mon, with Jess, everything to help build my game. Get better.
Very good.
Season. Yeah. Very
good. So I have to tell everybody that listening and watching our podcast, this is Deroni Hurley. He's the #1 player at 3x3 in Barbados. So his advice will be sound. Thank you, Deroni.
No problem.
Now we are back. Real interesting conversation with Deroni. Right now we will go to what we usually like to see. Pick 5. Last week, well, a couple of weeks, the week before we had some technical issues, but the last pick 5 went fairly well for one, Keelan Phillip, we would say Avenger only one. So he had a fantastic week. He had a full, you pick all 5. You did fairly well too, Alan. You got 45. I did also got 45, but Keelan was the man for that. But this week, since it's only you and I, let's look at the first game. The first game is on Thursday, the 1st of December. That is Dallas at Detroit. Dallas at Detroit. That should be very interesting.
Yeah. Tough one. I'll go with Dallas on this one. They have a terrible on the road, but I think they'll be able to pick this one up in Detroit.
Well, I will go with Detroit just to make sure everything is balanced out there. Then we have Washington at Charlotte. This is what we call Battle of the Bottom ones.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Wizards on this one. At least that's a playoff team technically.
Which one?
Wizards.
You're going with the Wizards. All right. Well, I really was going with the Wizards as well, so I'll keep to that pick. On Saturday, we have OKC at Minnesota. OKC at Minnesota with Cat. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm going to go to the home team on this one, but this one's going to be tight.
Yeah, I
go either way.
I would go with the home team as well. Then on Sunday, we have a blockbuster game. Denver at New Orleans. Denver at New Orleans.
Ooh. I'll go to Nuggets on this one.
You go Nuggets. Since you go Nuggets, I will go with New Orleans, just to make sure everything is balanced there. And the final game in the pick 5 is Chicago at Sacramento. Chicago at Sacramento.
Yeah, we're missing for them go with the Kings.
You're going with the Kings.
The Kings.
I think I will go with Chicago because I think they can't play any worse. So that is pick 5. We'll see what happens next week when we see the results. And right now, I must tell you that our court is adjourned.